you are one of the 2.9 million Metroid fans out there, today was a very special day for you. And since I am a Metroid fan, it was a special, special day for me. Metroid Prime 4, the game that we've been waiting, well, nearly a decade now for, seemed to be kind of on the back burner for Nintendo. Kirby Air Riders seemed to be the most important game in the world, with not one, but two elongated Nintendo Direct presentations, and then a 7+ minute trailer yesterday of overview stuff for Kirby Air Riders. And Metroid fans were like, hey, you know, there's a game coming out very soon. It would be nice to have a little bit more coverage on it. And today, we finally got that coverage. Preview events went out at various outlets, and Nintendo themselves did a 7+ minute overview trailer about Metroid Prime 4. And I definitely want to talk about this. I want to talk about some of the things that were mentioned in the previews and what we saw in the trailer itself, because overall, I am excited for this game. I am looking forward to this game, but there are a few things that kind of have me scratching my head a little bit that were discussed in the previews and shown in the trailer for this game that, I don't know, I just kind of want to explore it. It's not a negative thing or end of the world or anything like that, but just kind of present some ideas that I have from this, because I've been waiting for this game for a very, very long time. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like the video as well. But without any further ado, let's talk about Metroid Prime 4. So Metroid Prime 4 follows the basic Metroid formula that we all kind of know and have grown to love over time. Metroid really hasn't changed all that much ever since the initial game. It's just the perspective of the game has indeed changed. Instead of being a 2D game, Metroid Prime 1 on the original GameCube went into a first-person perspective to give us a different look at the world of Samus and Metroid. Now, ever since Metroid Prime 1, they've kind of built upon things that were done within those games with Metroid Prime 2 and Metroid Prime 3. But when you look at the timeline of when those games came out, it was definitely a much quicker turnaround time for those games. All those games came out within 6 years of each other, I believe it was. So the wait for Metroid Prime 4 has definitely been a lot longer. Now, there's been side stuff within the Metroid Prime universe, such as Metroid Prime Hunters on the DS, Metroid Prime Pinball on the DS as well, both games which I thoroughly enjoy. But with Metroid Prime 4, and obviously the rough development cycle that this game was in, allegedly being worked on by Bandai Namco initially, and then moving over to Retro Studios, where, I mean, it really should have been there from the start, considering they did all the other games. If it's not broke, I don't understand why we're trying to fix it. Obviously, there is a lot of anticipation for this game. Now, from what we've seen from a graphical perspective, specifically the Nintendo Switch 2 version of the game, because that is what is shown in the latest trailer, I mean, I think it looks good. You know, I'm not expecting a Switch 1 game to be a... Because you got to remember, this is a Switch 1 game through and through. The Switch 2 was definitely added into the game late in the life cycle, because this was supposed to come out many, many years ago. So I'm not expecting it to necessarily push the Switch 2 to its limits. But when you do have things like 4K 60 in docked mode, or 1080p 120 hertz in docked mode, you can also use mouse controls on the Switch 2. Obviously, the textures are a bit cleaned up as well. It's definitely a very visually pleasing experience on the eyes, and I think it'll be sort of showcased as you go into the different biomes within this game, because they did show off some different areas that you go into, lush environments, tower environments, so on and so forth. Your standard Metroid sort of stuff, but there are a few different twists and turns that you have in here, primarily with the psychic abilities and the bike that you have. The bike stuff, I mean, it looks all right, I guess. Like, I don't know. It seems a little unnecessary, because it seems like there's not like a whole lot to do when you're on the bike. It's more of just a traversal system. Kind of reminds me of No More Heroes 1, which had that bike in it, and it was just kind of like, well, okay, you know, it's kind of cool, I guess, but at least that was in a city. Like, you're just kind of going throughout, like, desert areas, at least from what they've shown thus far. on this bike, and I don't know, it just looks a little bit dull, a little bit boring, but maybe there is some things that happen along your bike route that will spice things up. And then these psychic abilities, which allow you to kind of like slow down time and maneuver your bullets, stuff like that. Obviously, puzzle usage as well. And I mean, you know, it's cool. Like, I'm not against it or anything like that. I'm not against spicing things up within the Metroid universe. And, you know, they showed off a boss battle here and there, some of the larger enemies. Of course, Silex is a big part of it. Everything about this that they showed, generally speaking, looks fun. You know, it looks like a good time for Metroid Prime fans or Metroid fans in general. But there are a few things that I do want to mention that I feel are kind of strange with this game. First and foremost has to be the companion system that is being implemented into this game, because evidently there is a companion, and it could be potentially a different companion in each area that you go to. And well, I don't like the companion thing. Based on everything that we've been told and, you know, so far from this, the companion is very overbearing and treats you like you're dumb. You know, it's like, hey, you should save the game now. And it's like, well, wait a minute here. I am Samus. I am on a weird planet. It's supposed to be weird and isolated, where you come across different things at different times and stuff like that. Why do I need a companion to tell me basic things or potentially even like help me solve a puzzle? Like, I don't want that. Like, the whole thing about Metroid Prime games is the challenge has been in trying to figure out everything kind of on your own, because there is no help. You know, you are abandoned. You are basically trying to figure things out on your own. Now, there are human characters in this game as well that you will come across, which I don't necessarily mind that. You know, obviously other rescue efforts are being done, and, you know, people are going to be on other planets, but having a chatty companion that's constantly with you and constantly telling you to do the most basic things, I feel like it's that yellow paint epidemic that is in video games. And I know that there are people that are, you know, fans of the yellow paint. They're like, you know, it helps people, you know, figure things out faster, and, you know, it allows for better gameplay because you're not getting stuck in an area. And I kind of understand that. But, like, one of the nice things about video games kind of is problem solving. And I understand that everyone wants instant gratification nowadays. They want instant satisfaction. They don't want to work for anything. They want to be handed everything. They want everything to them on a silver platter. But I feel like, you know, really, yellow paint and the yellow paint epidemic is the reason why AI is on the rise. I'm sure this will get clipped somewhere, but the yellow paint epidemic is why AI is on the rise, because people are not utilizing critical thinking skills. Instead of actually thinking something through and trying to figure something out in their head, they're just going to these AI websites to ask them for help. And that's why these jobs are getting sucked up by AI, because humans have become complacent. Humans have become lazy. But off of this little tangent here, I do feel like the dumbing down of video games, especially games that have had a strong puzzle mechanic to them, and, you know, the kind of, oh, where do I go next? What area do I go to next? You know, it is a little bit discouraging. And I think one of the things, you know, the primary thing for me, no pun intended, with Metroid Prime 4 is it's Metroid Prime 4. And that's not a bad thing at all. You know, that is not a bad thing. But when you kind of look at the standard Metroid tropes, when you kind of look at, you know, what Samus is doing, how she's doing it, you know, what the story is, how the gameplay works. Oh, spoiler alert, you lost all your power-ups and now you have to go find them. Like, it's a very formulaic thing, and that can be very comforting for a lot of people, like a good comfort food, because, you know, it's what you come to expect from these games. But it's the same formula that Metroid has always had since the original game. And I just feel like at some point in time, Samus needs to make that leap. Samus and Metroid need to, you know, have something where it's like, okay, you know, we've done the traditional thing for 40 years now, maybe we could switch it up a little bit. Maybe we could do something a little bit different. And I'm not talking about like a Federation forces or anything like that. Far from that. But I mean, just kind of, change up the formula and the style a little bit of the game, but still keep that first-person exploration. And maybe that will happen on the Nintendo Switch 2, because like I said, this is a Switch 1 game that should have came out probably... Realistically, it should have came out like 6 or 7 years ago. Don't do that stupid freaking thing that the kids are saying in the comments. I swear, I will come to every one of your houses and slap your parents. And I don't care if you're like a 40-year-old man like me and your parents are like 70. I will still smack your parents. Don't do that nonsense in the comments that the children are doing. But I just feel like every mainline Nintendo franchise has had that moment where it's like, let's try something a bit different that's still within the realm of what you would expect from this game, but expands upon it. And I was hoping that Metroid Prime 4 would be kind of that expansion. Elaborating on Samus, elaborating on the gameplay hook and loop, and really growing the world that Samus inhabits. The bounty hunters, you could have done something with them from the Metroid Prime Hunters game. Maybe have that multiplayer aspect like you did in Metroid Prime 2 and in Metroid Prime Hunters. But it just seems like this is a very safe Metroid Prime game, and that's not a bad thing. I'm still going to enjoy the game. I still think it's going to be a really fun experience, maybe with some little quirks here and there that I'm not completely sold on. But I do feel like they, at some point in time, you can't just do the same thing over and over again. Or maybe you can. Maybe you can, and that's the winning formula. Just find something that works, stick with it, and then never change it up. But I don't know. What do you think? Have you been reading because you got to remember, here's the main thing. Metroid is a niche franchise. This trailer that went up a couple hours ago, it's not getting anywhere near the views as something like a Kirby Air Riders or a Mario game or a Zelda game or even the latest Donkey Kong game. And it's like, well, why is that? Is it because people are like, oh, another Metroid Prime game, that looks cool. But I didn't like the other Metroid Prime games, so there's really nothing for me here. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. But maybe you know. So let me know in the comments section down below. What do you think about Metroid Prime 4? This is still a game that I'm highly anticipating this year. It's way more excited for this than Kirby Air Riders. I feel like at this point in time, Sakurai is just going to, like, show up at your house, like knock on your door if you buy Kirby Air Riders, and just sit there and play the game for you while you watch him, because they've shown this game off so much. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Hit the bell as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.